What is going on, everybody? This is Jailbreak Weekly, episode number 20. My name is Andy Hoft. I am joined by my co-host, David Burns. What's going on, David?
What's up, Andy? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. We also have Justin Wack here today. What's going on, Justin?
Not too much, just living the life.
Living the life. Okay, so today is a special episode for a few reasons. Number one, it's episode 20, which is something that we're all proud of.
2-0.
2-0.
There you go.
And number two, we have a very special guest with us today. We have William Vabrinskas on the line. What's going on, William?
Nothing, man. Hanging out. First podcast with you guys. This is great.
Yeah, this is awesome.
I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely. We're excited, too. If you guys don't know him, he's a very well-known developer in the Jailbreak tweak scene. So we're going to have a discussion with him about what he does, who he is, and all that stuff. So
I didn't know it was well-known, but this is good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're happy to have you here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Nice. So we have some questions for you. So,
sure.
So first up, just tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get started? Who are you? What do you do? All that kind of stuff.
Okay, so I originally started developing. It was not for any type of company. It was not for any professional reason. It was just because I had an interest in programming, and it kind of started back when I was in college. Freshman year, I'd say, around freshman or sophomore year of college, so around 2010, I started messing around with basic Windows, VB script and all that stuff, making some type of error messages, because my friend found this website that you can generate fake Windows error messages, and I said, well, that's not good enough. It's great, that's a picture and all, that's fun, but what if I made someone click on Internet Explorer and their computer turned off? Right? So I wanted to figure out how to do that, and that's how Visual Basic came in. And then VB Script is a subset of Visual Basic, for those who don't know. And then I learned Visual Basic myself just through trial and error. I eventually made a web browser. It was a horrible web browser, by the way. But
I doubt it was worse than Internet Explorer. I just have to say that.
I added a feature that when you hit it, the window kind of like scrolled up, and all that was visible was the bookmarks bar and the URL bar, and that's it. So,
well, again, still better than Internet Explorer.
Yeah, it would hide the whole browser, so that way if you were watching some explicit stuff real quick, you can hit this button, the whole browser would go up, and it wouldn't look like it was minimized. It would just look like nothing was there.
Oh,
so
I figured, cool.
Why not, right?
I like that.
I also made the ability for it to fade in and out, so you can adjust the opacity if there's something behind it. It was just me dicking around, right? But eventually, I moved into iOS programming when I got an iPhone 3G, and I jailbroke it right after my brother actually jailbroke. He's younger than me. He's 20 now, but I'm 25 in January. But yeah, he had an iPhone and he jailbroke it, and then I jailbroke it. And for those of you who don't know, I actually started as a theme developer, theme designer, if you want to call it. Yeah, because I had some knowledge with Photoshop and whatnot, but theming is so hard that I kind of moved to programming because it was way more fun.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But I eventually decided to just learn it just by starting. I didn't even open a book. Didn't take a tutorial, didn't do anything. I kind of just said, all right, this is what I want to do, and how do I do it? So eventually, I just did a whole bunch. I Googled around, and my first extension was something called Media Brightness Slider, I think.
Slider.
What it did is in the old phones, in the old iOS 4 or 3 days, or 2, it was 3, iOS 3. When you double tap the home button, then you know how the media controls come up.
Right.
Yeah.
That continued through to iOS 6, but back in the old days. There was no control center. There was no. This is during the times of SB settings around.
Right.
Or a little bit before. Mine was when you double tapped it. It added a brightness slider to the bottom, right above where the slide to unlock knob was. So right above there.
Okay.
And it worked. But then eventually I worked on it more and more, and it ended up becoming like SB settings to the point where they actually wouldn't even let me submit it anymore. Because it was too much like SB settings. So
wow.
I kind of dropped the project after that. Yeah, because I was like, I started looking through all the header files and whatnot, and I was like, oh, I can turn this off, I can do this, and then eventually went from there.
Right.
But I emailed some developers. I didn't really get any response back from them, so I was pretty much on my own to begin with. There was no, I think, well, back then I never really knew about Reddit. I never knew about Jailbreak, anything. I didn't even know there was a community until about 4 years ago, honestly.
Right.
But my help, it was just me, and I just started developing tweaks that way. So that's like
Gotcha.
a brief background, and then more serious stuff came around. Like InstaURL was after that.
Yeah.
I don't even have the list up. It's on ModMyEye, but
So
yeah, go ahead.
so when you say that you learn to program just by Googling, like, so basically what you're saying is you decided, like, take us through that process a little bit. Like, did you just decide, like, okay, like, I want to make this kind of thing, so in order to make this thing, I need to figure out how I'm going to do it. So then would you just look up on Google, like, how to
Here's the
make
thing. With jailbreaking, you can't look up how do I change the icon size, right? Because
Yeah.
that's not a thing. You can't just Google that. I mean, you probably could now, but you can't really Google something that you're engineering. You're pretty much every time you comes down to jailbreak development, it's pretty much inventing every single time. You're the first person to do it, most likely. Unless you have, you have to invent a way to do your new idea, right? Because every idea is pretty much brand new. There are some things that are copying other tweaks and whatnot, but the general process is different every time. So you have to invent a way to do it, and it takes a lot of, it takes engineering to figure out. And essentially, what I do is my process initially is, when I first started programming, it was a lot of just trial and error. Oh, how does this work? I looked at a lot of sample code. I looked at a lot of open source projects.
Okay.
The only thing I did was look at open source SB extensions. So SB settings extensions, because that's what my goal was to begin with.
Right.
And then from there, I kind of learned Objective-C just by looking at how the calls work. And learning Visual Basic was right before learning Objective-C. Visual Basic was a little similar. I'm not going to say it's the same language, but it's object-oriented for the most part, and the way the methods are called and all that stuff was kind of similar. So I wasn't really completely in the dark, but I kind of had an idea. And once you have a background in programming, it kind of just snowballs from there.
Yeah. See, that's interesting because I've tried learning to program before, and I've tried opening up, like, for example, I tried with Python, and I tried opening up, a video course, and being blind, I have obviously different needs than most people when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I found that video courses didn't really work for me. But so then I tried going to a book, and I'm like, okay, this still isn't working for me because it's only giving me, like, sample code. It's not telling me, like, oh, this is what, like, I just found that books didn't work for me. So that's an interesting way to hear how you learn to.
Yeah, I learned it because I'm a hands-on learner. I can't read from a book and learn something. I really can't. I have to put something together and figure out why it doesn't work. I have to put this together. I have to put all of this stuff together and go, okay, well, to me it looks like it makes sense, but why is it not working? Why is something not doing this? And you learn from your mistakes, essentially.
So you have to play around with something and kind of get a feel of what something does.
Don't be afraid to just put something together, and if it crashes your phone, look at the log and find out why, and you go, oh, that makes sense, because, well, I didn't do this. And then you kind of look up, because eventually all Objective-C programming comes down to the same crashes that you would get on an app. So eventually you can Google the problem. If you can really look up the problem when it comes down to, well, why can't I have an empty object in an array? Well, you just can't. There's memory located there, right? So that's how you learn. You learn piece by piece, and eventually you can put it all together. So that's how I learn. Some people have a hard time just going at it because they don't know where to begin. And to those people, I suggest reading a book, maybe, or watching a video or something. But I suggest just diving in.
I might actually do that.
It's something I've always wondered with jailbreak tweak developers, because it's true what you said. There's no real resources, or it's gotten a little better, I would think, but there's not a huge net of resources to you because it's it's not like you're developing an app for the App Store or something like that. Yeah, that makes sense. Exactly. It really does. Yeah, it's something that I think Yeah, it's just like coming from an outside perspective, someone who doesn't code, it sounds like it would be incredibly challenging. So
yeah, because you're inventing something new every time.
Yeah,
you start.
exactly.
Right.
I hear you. So kind of going on with the trend of learning how to develop tweaks, what tweaks have you developed for the Jailbreak community so far?
So let me start. All right, I have the list up here. So
okay, all right, cool.
All right, we'll start with the first one I was talking about, media controller brightness.
All right.
Okay, then it got to remove slideshow button. This is where I learned to override like bool values and that kind of thing. This was similar. It wasn't similar, but I had a really annoying problem with my iPad back in iOS 6. Whenever the iPad 2 came out, I had a problem where I would always accidentally hit the slideshow button and it just looked ugly.
Oh yeah, I did that too. Yeah, I had that all the time. I remember that.
Oh, exactly, man. And someone recommended. No one really messaged me on that. This was just something I decided to make, and it was useful. So that was that.
Wait, so it removed the slideshow button?
The button was just completely gone. Yeah.
Oh my god, I had that installed. I'm not
there
even
you
kidding.
Go.
I had it installed on iOS 5. I never knew that was you. That's so awesome.
Well, there you go.
I love that tweak. That was like one of my favorite iPad tweaks.
Yeah. Man. I installed it. That was the first thing I did every time.
Nice.
It's kind of a shame. I was just gonna say it's kind of a shame that like iPad tweaks don't really kind of exist in the community much anymore.
Yeah, because you know what it is? The iPhones are becoming so much more powerful. There's no need to have a larger screen with a lower performing processor.
That's true.
So you can buy an iPhone 6, which is a big enough screen size to watch movies on, right? Yeah. And you can put it in your pocket. I have an iPad Air, and I find myself using it less and less, unfortunately. I use it mainly for app development because it's my nature of my job. But I have it, but I use it less and less, and it's kind of sad.
Right. Yeah, I have an iPad Mini, and Andy knows I rarely take it out. So
yeah, it was lost under his bed or something for months.
Yeah, it's still on 8.4. So yeah.
I think I have an iPad 2 that's still on 7 right now, actually.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And I don't use it very often anymore because as soon as I got my iPhone 4S, I'm like, and see, for me it's a little different because I don't need a big screen, right? So as soon as I got my 4S, my iPad 2 is my first ever device, but as soon as I got my 4S, I'm like, okay, this thing is my new go-to because the iPad screen is too big for me, and I like this thing. So yeah, I have never bought an iPad since, and I probably never will.
Yeah, and I think I'm contemplating selling my iPad Air, but I just feel terrible. I know for a fact someone's going to have a problem with one of my tweaks, and it's going to be on the iPad.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
That's why I have it around, right? So.
Right.
So after the remove slideshow button, that's Andy's favorite tweak.
Yes, absolutely.
I have another one of mine, which was SMS Confirmation. Now this was one of the first tweaks that I've ever had one of my friends that never knew me, that I never talked to in my life, come up to me and go, "Hey, did you make this? Because I need an update." And I go, "Yeah, how'd you even know?" This got popular apparently, and I never really took any. I did take credit, but it wasn't at the time where I was trying to build anything with it. But I was like, yeah, whatever. Unfortunately, so the SMS confirmation, the way it worked was, it would check to see if the message was actually sent to the servers, to the SMS servers, and if it wasn't, it would give you an alert. So the problem I had with my iPhone was back on the iOS 6. When I went skiing with it, I would lose reception in the middle of sending a text message, and I wouldn't know when the message sent or not, or even sent, because it wouldn't tell you. You'd have to check the messages app to have a little, that little triangle, that little, what do you call it? The little exclamation mark. There we go.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't know. There was, or did it? I don't remember. But the reasoning behind this was that I needed to know if it was sent, not if it failed. They never told you if it was sent.
Right.
Never told you if it failed.
I have this.
I did one or the other, but the point is I made it and it was very useful for me. And it was actually one of the first tweaks that I had to really, really do a lot of research in. I learned a lot from it because back in the day, you couldn't change the banner size. So there was no banner. In fact, it was with those blue pop-up notifications.
Oh man, I hated those. Yeah.
You couldn't change the size. So if you had no buttons and you had no text, and all it was the title, it would just be a really big box which said "message sent" in the center. I had to learn how to hack into the alert view and change the size.
Right.
So that was one thing I learned from that. The one after that was InstaURL, which allowed you to use an activator action, which was, by the way, my first activator. What do you call it? My first activator tweak, if you want an extension, rather. And you just set it to an action, and you type in a URL or a search term into the box, and you hit go, and it'll just open up Safari and search it for you. So
that's very useful. I can see that being useful in tons of scenarios.
Yeah. That was actually my first paid tweak.
Nice.
That was actually the first tweak of mine that IDB did a review of.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's awesome. I bet that's kind of the end goal in terms of coverage. I'm sure. Yeah. Is it updated for iOS 9, by the way?
No, it hasn't even been updated for iOS 8 technically.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I was just checking.
It's became, I don't know. They changed the whole way alert views worked, and I kind of dropped it because now there's a spotlight.
Oh yeah.
So I kind of just decided to drop the project, and I might make it open source at some point, but there's really no point.
I hear you.
It's an activator extension. You can figure it out. Because that's open source, right? So, well, not activator itself, but how to make extensions is.
Okay.
What else here? All right, so we have Quick Gesture. Now, this is something that was also paid, and Quick Gesture was an iPad-only tweak, by the way. What it did was use an activator action to disable or toggle the multitasking gestures on the iPad. Because this was particularly useful for me because when I used to write notes on my iPad and you rested your wrist on it, it would change apps because it felt like you had 5 fingers.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of having to go all the way back to settings and then go through all the whole thing and disable the multitasking, I just did the quick gesture thing, and it was very useful for me. I don't know about anyone else, but it was useful for me. It was also 99 cents.
So most of your ideas, it sounds like to me, are kind of just you had just this kind of vision. Oh well, this would help me out a lot. Did you kind of think, well, because this would help me out a lot, maybe it would help other people out?
Yeah, so that's interesting that you say that. So I had a break from the iPhone, actually, for about a year. I was on the LG G3. In fact, Andy probably knows about that because I was at WWJC last year, and I had an LG.
Yes, I remember that, yeah. I helped record some stuff from that, I remember.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I didn't have an iPhone at the time, and all I had was my iPod Touch. But for the year I didn't have an iPhone, my tweak development halted for the most part instead of updating my existing tweaks because I didn't use my phone enough to know what I wanted to do.
Okay, I can see
because
that.
I didn't feel like I needed to do something. I didn't feel like something was missing. That's how I kind of figure out my tweaks in a way where I'll go, oh man, I wish I did this. All right, let me make it do that.
Right.
So that's kind of how my thought process goes with the whole thing.
Yeah, I think we had Ryan Petrich, the guy who made Activator, on here a few months ago, and he was saying a very similar thing where he made tweaks for what you find useful first and foremost, and chances are that people will catch on to that.
Exactly. And I usually run my ideas by someone who's a power user of their phone. And I'll go, hey, what do you think if the phone did this? And they'll go, that's a great idea. Or they'll go, that's absolutely horrible, no one's going to use that. I go, okay. Because I have a lot of projects that have not been released that I just use.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's something like that. Like, for example, I made one that was when you swipe down, instead of Spotlight, this was for iOS 8, an entire web browser came up.
Oh, cool. It's funny you mentioned that. I think someone just released a version of that, Spot Browser.
Yeah.
So I started that project a long time ago, and I never really came to fruition because, I don't know, I didn't really see myself using it enough. But I installed it, and it came in handy a couple times. But other than that,
I could see that.
But the next one was my first one that someone emailed me and said, hey, can you make this? Because I'm doing a project or whatever. And now this is similar to InstaURL, but I'm sorry if I'm taking too long, guys.
Oh, no.
No. That's all good. It's
okay, yeah. So this was called GoToNow. This is free. It's similar to InstaURL, where instead of a URL you type it in settings, and then the activator action just launches that URL immediately.
Oh. I can see that.
Yeah, so instead of like the whole alert box coming and typing it and going, this one just went straight to the URL that you defined in settings. And now someone wanted this because they were doing something with their Raspberry Pi, and they needed a tweak to go to a URL automatically. Right. And I said, yeah, no problem, I'll do it. And I did it. Cool. And I released it for him. I sent him the copy before I released it. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but like coming from someone who like I often stalk certain websites like viciously, I can really see this coming in handy.
Exactly that.
AKA the JailbreakCon website whenever JailbreakCon gets announced.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm always looking for the.
Oh yeah.
I generally just check my Twitter account and then it kind of is like, all right, yeah. I'm like, all right.
Right. Yeah. I can see that. I always like to be there first. Like to know the.
Or maybe my friend usually harasses me until I buy a ticket. So.
Right.
I wasn't even sure if I was going this year, honestly.
Oh really? Yeah, I think you've been to the past 3, right? Because I've seen you. Okay.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I went this year was because they asked me to talk.
Oh, nice.
I wasn't actually asked to talk. I forwarded them I sent them an email with the idea. I sent Craig a message on Twitter and just said like, hey, would you guys be interested in this? And they're like, yeah, this would be great. So, but like this was the year that I knew I was like last year in 2014. Like I found out I didn't even know. I didn't even know what JailbreakCon was until.
I know. I met you. Actually talked to me right after I came out of the bathroom.
I wasn't stalking you, I swear.
You and your mom stopped me and my friend after we came out of the bathroom, and you said, this is the first time I met you, actually. You said, hey, you guys sound like developers. And I said, yes, we are. And we talked about
That's totally something Justin would say.
Well, because I heard you guys talking about, I can't remember what you guys were talking about. But
me neither.
This sounded like you were
I was talking with my friend who made battery status bar.
Okay, yeah, because it sounded like you were talking about some kind of, I could tell you were talking about code stuff, so I'm like, oh, okay, well, you must be a developer.
Yeah,
like I didn't even know.
Yeah, that was.
But yeah, like I didn't even know that it was like a thing until like a week before the actual conference, and so then I was staying over at my aunt's, so I got home and I'm like, hey mom, like can I please go to this? Like I really want to go to this, and like I booked my flight like literally 3 or 4 days before JailbreakCon 2014 last year, and I was like. Wow. It was completely like short notice. Like I had no idea. Like if you would have told me last year in like January that I'd be going to a conference for jailbreaking, I'd be like, what? There is no such thing. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always nice to see. That's what I love about JailbreakCon. That there's enough people out there who are dedicated to jailbreaking to have an event like that. That's what I love about it, you know.
Yeah.
It's very nice. But anyways, William, sorry to interrupt. Continue.
No, don't even worry about it, man. I love BC, man. I'm telling you, it's my favorite. It's my favorite time of year.
Me too.
Whenever time of year that is.
Yeah.
So whenever that happens, I'm usually excited for it.
Absolutely.
But yeah. So what's the next thing? Quick Hide was another one. That was actually the first one that I used. I used the proximity sensor for this. And what this did was, instead of locking your device, so I had a flip case on my phone, you know, I had like put on the cover and it's like a wallet, but mine's not a wallet, it's the flip case, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the smart cover. So this is actually around the same time the smart cover came out for the iPad, right? And I wanted the same functionality on my phone, but obviously there's no magnetic sensors on the iPhone.
Right.
So I simulated this by using the proximity sensor. And the proximity sensor, if you don't know, is actually used every time you make a phone call.
Right.
When you make a phone call, the screen turns off, but it doesn't lock the device. So I used this functionality to simulate it everywhere. So when you were on the home screen, right, and you just wanted to flip your phone upside down, or just cover it real quick, you cover the proximity sensor, your screen would just go black, and no one would see what you were doing, and you just take your finger off, and there you are. You're right back to where you were.
That's an amazing idea.
Yep.
Yeah, that's.
And I found the need for it because I was like, oh, I have this cover. I want to be able to close it, have the screen off, similar to locking the device because, well, the screen is off.
Right.
That's how the proximity sensor worked. The screen was off, the digitizer was off, but it was just right back to where you were when you undid it. and I found myself in the need for that, so I made it, and it was popular for the most part.
Nice. Yeah. If I had a case like that, I would totally use that because I've used smart covers in the past, and yeah, I just love that how it doesn't fully lock the device, but it just puts it to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, something about that. I like it.
Stopped work on that because I want to say in iOS 7 or 8, might have been 8 actually, or 7. I don't remember. Point is, the proximity sensor was inaccessible from what I remember, or I couldn't actually figure out how to do it. I didn't know the code well enough.
Right.
So I wasn't a good enough programmer at the time to actually update it. So I never did.
Gotcha.
And I kind of, like, Apple kind of threw me a curveball, so I stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens sometimes. Sms Confirmation was one of those where I couldn't figure out how to hook whether or not iMessages were being successfully sent. Because iMessage used a whole different set of
because
things.
it goes through Apple servers instead of
and I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. So I just said, all right, this is it. This is the death.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, but that's what I hear whenever I hear Tweak developers talking about, major iOS updates. It just sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it's
I
horrible.
can't imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever literally the morning of the iOS 9 jailbreak, I wake up in the morning and I see iOS 9 jailbreak, and I'm like, I have a really long week ahead of me. I still haven't updated Boxxy 2 because it is so much different.
I am looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a beta, but again, there's still some problems that I haven't done
Gotcha.
yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so in fact, perfect segue because the next tweak is Boxxy. This was iOS 6 only. This version of Boxxy 1.0 was iOS 6, I believe, only.
Yeah, I remember I reviewed it on iOS 6.
Yeah, iOS 6 only.
Isn't that how you guys met? How you and Andy met?
Yeah, we met through the comment section of that video. I remember. Man, that was so long ago.
All right, well, if we did, we did. Then. But
yeah, I remember.
The reason why I brought that up.
Commented on it.
Yeah. The reason why I brought that up is because we were talking on FaceTime earlier, Andy and I, like earlier today, about Boxxy, and he linked me to his because back then he did like tweak recaps, which is like it's crazy to even think about that now because like he doesn't even do that anymore. But back then he did that, and I remember scrolling down through the comments, and I remember reading your comment that basically said, "Hey, I'm the developer. It's great that you're covering this. If you want any more of my tweaks, like let me know."
Just so you know, I search YouTube every so often, and I reply to every single person who makes a video on my tweaks.
Wow,
that's nice.
That doesn't
every single
surprise
one.
me, actually.
Only if it's in English. I have no idea what the guy's saying if it's in Spanish, right?
Yeah.
He could be like, this blows.
It doesn't surprise me because I know at JailbreakCon 2015 this year you did a really good talk about customer service for
yes, I did.
For people who were like purchasing your tweaks and stuff like that. And so that doesn't surprise me at all that you would take the initiative and go out and do that.
I do the same thing on actually our jailbreak. I search all of my tweaks on our jailbreak, and I reply to every single question.
Yeah, I really appreciate that from a reviewer perspective and a user perspective. It's just,
definitely.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of developers that I always like because if you have a question about something, tweak's not working right, crashing into safe mode, whatever, you're just there and you're able to answer any questions that anyone has. So that's definitely good from both a user perspective and a YouTuber reviewing perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. I mean, I love when people have feedback on my tweaks, whether positive or negative, because I like people just see people using it.
Right.
Yeah, see it on someone else's phone.
Yeah. And honestly, when someone asks me if they want something for free through email, if they're sincere, I will give it to them. Every time.
Nice. Yeah, that's.
But Boxxy,
I could see that.
Yeah. Why not? It's free publicity.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what does Boxxy do? I don't think we ever actually talked about that.
So Boxxy is, at the time, the only other tweak that did similar to what it did was, I think it was Iconoclasm was the other one?
Yeah, I remember that, Iconoclasm, right.
So basically what it does is it allows you to put your icons in a box orientation, we'll say. So it's similar to Grid as it is now, but the grid can either be closer together, like the spacing can be closer together, the spacing can be far apart if you want. There's a whole bunch of presets, and the animation is really fun when you change the setting. It's great. But have you guys used it? You've obviously used it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I loved the animation when I first installed it back on 6. How you could activate it and everything would just smoothly.
Everything just changes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it's just a smooth animation. Yeah.
I found that to be the most fun part about this.
Definitely, it is.
But yeah, so you can change it, and my initial idea on this was because iWidgets were big at the time, so you could put like your search thing on the top or whatever. And you can move your icons up and down however you really wanted. And from that idea, it kind of blossomed into a whole other thing where it became like an entire home screen springboard designer type deal. And I don't want to say home screen designer because that's actually a thing. But it became its own product eventually because people started suggesting ideas and I go, all right, yeah. So like these are things you'd want, right? So you'd want to be able to add new rows or columns. You want to be able to change. You want to remove the labels. You want to be able to do this and that. And I figured, why not try to make a tweak that can be all-inclusive kind of thing. And well, that's kind of how Boxxy, became what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just like in terms of, obviously I said I like the animations. In terms of that, that's great, but I also I like having different home screen designs, like every once in a while I just want to switch it up a little bit. I want, maybe the icons to be shifted towards the bottom of the screen or to the side it's just a great tweak for that. Just kind of switching it up a little bit, maybe make it easier on your hands so you can reach certain areas of the screen, stuff like that.
Yeah. And for me, it was really more for like, to fit with themes kind of thing. Or, it was just, honestly, when it first started out, it was more of just a fun project.
Right.
And now it's become a whole thing, at least for the most part.
Yeah.
Did you think when you initially were making it that it was going to become, like, a thing?
So, no, yes and no. When you have a good idea, you can kind of tell. You're like, this is going to be good. And sometimes your instincts are totally off. You're like, I think everyone's going to use this. Like, my tweak Return, which is coming up later, I was like, 100% everyone's going to download this. This is fantastic. Who's not going to want all their recently opened apps in their control center, right? Turns out not a lot of people did.
Hey, I love that tweak. Like seriously, it was very handy because when I'm like, I'm kind of in between doing actions on my device, when I'm controlling the brightness or turning on Wi-Fi, maybe I want to switch apps. So it's just kind of like those occurrences. Like again, when I'm changing stuff up on my device, it's nice for me to have that.
At first I didn't think so, but then eventually as it started making it, I kind of segued into, all right, I think this might be useful to some people.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that's Boxxy 1.
Yes.
The one after that was Tabless, which just removes the tabs on the. This was one of the first ever iOS 8 tweaks to ever come out.
Nice.
Overall, it was a tweak that disables. If you go to your lock screen in your phone, you have the little tabs on the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
The little pull down things.
Right.
It removes those because I found them to be ugly.
Yeah, they are kind of ugly. Yeah, like intrudes on your wallpaper, especially if a nice.
Gets in the way.
Yeah. So I decided, that's probably a good thing to remove, and with over 300,000 downloads, I'd say it's useful.
Nice.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Is that your most?
My most downloaded? Yes. Yes, it is. And that I don't have counts on my own repo, because I do have some packages on my own repo that are only exclusive to my repo. I don't submit it to anywhere else. That's just because I don't feel like the project is, it's no point if I can just host it myself.
Yeah.
But Tabless is one I decided to upload to ModMyEye. But
Nice.
this is the most downloaded as of right now.
All right, great. Does that work for iOS 9, by the way? I'm just curious.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay, all right, cool. Yeah, I will definitely check that out.
I figure that there's other tweaks that do that right now, right?
Yeah, I think maybe Springtime Eyes. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. I'll update it because I keep getting emails about it. So.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I'll be able to after that, we'll try to breeze to the next couple. This is Sticky. Sticky is the sticky note for the lock screen.
Yes, I remember that. Unfortunately, for some reason, I never installed this. I really don't know why.
It's no big deal. I haven't installed it. Don't use it.
Yeah.
This is one of the tweaks that someone had. This was my first ever Reddit request, Phil.
Right.
So someone requested this on Reddit, and I made it within 8 hours.
Wow.
And I had it up.
Wow.
So you were just like, all right, I'm doing this. And then,
and I spent the rest of my days just fucking making it. And once you get into it, man, you can finish the whole project in a couple of hours.
Wow.
Especially me. I tend to just get wrapped up, and I'll be up all night.
That's a lot of programmers that
I'll go to sleep, and I'll just go, oh, I think I can make it do this. Right, let me get up and do this real quick.
So it's like you kind of just like have ideas like in the middle of the night, and you just like wake up and like, oh, like I should do this.
Sometimes I'll have the idea right before I go to bed, and I will just finish it before I go to sleep. Other times I'll be in the middle of the night, and I'll wake up and I'll think of it, and I'll just go, all right, I'll try to remember this for the morning. And most of the time I do. But if I don't, eventually I'll come across. If the idea was good enough, it'll happen again, right? But I'm always thinking about my projects whenever I'm not working on them.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that's like I've started producing music, and I find very similar. Like I'll like sometimes you just get those ideas, and like it's really hard to suppress your excitement when you get those ideas, and like your urge to go over to your laptop and just start working.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
The worst feeling ever is when you have to do something and you can't work on your project, but you know you.
I know.
Oh, I hate that feeling.
Yeah, that was like me for 2 weeks when my computer was completely broken in the Apple store. Yeah,
it's bad. Sometimes I just like can't focus when I do anything else. I was like, all right, I need to just do this so I can get out of the way. But and then around this time, iOS 7 came out, and well, Boxxy 2 was made. The reason why Boxxy 2 is called Boxxy 2 is because the programming I had to do from iOS 6 to 7 was so much that I just said, all right, I have to make the time it took me to do this is just, it's just too much.
So mainly, I was just going to ask, mainly from a developer perspective, it kind of seems like this anyway. If there's like a lot of coding that's involved in updating the tweak, you just like make a new version of it. So like Spring Optimize 3 for iOS 10, let's say, if that took like an extreme amount of time to update, would that be like Spring Optimize 4?
So you have to, as a developer, you have to realize you're also a project manager, you're a business owner, So you have to, especially if it's not free. If it's free, whatever. But if it's not, you have to consider that the amount of time it takes to update something, is that worth your time in the amount of money it's going to make, right? So if you think about it, the reason why Boxxy 2 is called Boxxy 2 is because people who have Boxxy 1 actually had to buy Boxxy 2 again. And I tried to discount it, but in my mind I was like, we can't do that. And I was like, come on, make it 99 cents for everyone else and who bought it, and $1.99 for everyone else, right? But they said they would do it. I don't know if it ever happened. But the reason why it was like that because it just takes so much time to do it, and time is money. We know this, and if it took more than weeks, right, to do something, I kind of figured, all right, I should probably charge again for this.
Yeah.
You got to consider how much is your time worth. I'm generally lenient with that, but. Like for now, right now, Boxxy 2 supports iOS 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is compatible with 9?
It is compatible with 9, just not through ModMyi.
Right. Okay.
You have to download it through my own repo. The beta is free.
Okay.
So I get a lot of feedback from people because it's free.
See, this is really interesting to hear from a developer's perspective because a lot of users, especially in the jailbreak community, who tend to lean towards dare I say it, piracy, aren't willing to pay for things. But the comeback I always tell them is like, well, look at these developers. Like these guys are spending hours and hours and hours of their time working on this stuff, and you don't have the decency to pay 99 cents or $1.99 or however much the tweak is.
Yeah, exactly. And if you've, if you heard of my talk, I actually talked about how good customer service can effectively combat piracy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, if you're nice, like I feel like it probably like people are gonna want to like buy your tweak more than like if you have terrible customer service and you just don't answer any emails or
you want to feel like when you buy a product, because something like an app or an extension like this, it's really hard to put value to it because you don't get anything.
Right.
You're not physically receiving anything in return. Right? It's like buying DLC for a game. It's like you're not getting anything, but you have to somehow provide a value to something that's essentially valueless. So the value I'm providing is, I'm here if you have anything, any questions, any concerns, any question. I mentioned questions again. If you want to ask 2 questions, you can ask 2 questions. But you have to provide yourself essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel helps sell products too.
Right. The network of support behind it. Yeah, that's amazing. It really is.
Yeah. No one wants to turn up like EA, right? So.
Oh man, that takes me back.
Yeah. Well, Boxxy 2 supports iOS 9 in the beta. Unfortunately, the columns and rows are having an issue. Still can't figure out why.
Actually, I believe we talked about that a couple weeks ago, correct? We talked about the beta of that on.
I think that was Switchy.
That was Switchy.
Yeah, that's still in progress.
Yeah, I am loving Switchy though. I gotta tell you.
It's a great tweak. I love it.
I use it all the time. There's a new update actually. You guys don't have access to it yet. It will be up probably tonight. That reminds me, I should probably do that. You know how those placeholders? How you have the right now? It's just those like it looks like there's no app icon.
Right. Yeah, I remember.
I replaced those with empty folders.
Ooh.
Yeah. It looks very. Yeah. I remember you sent me a screenshot of this. It looks very smooth. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it looks like. Yeah, it's nice.
So, any idea as to like when we might see this actually released? Because it sounds like obviously it's still in progress. So
yeah, I actually finished school in a week, so I should probably have it out sometime around 2 weeks from now, maybe.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I work on it pretty much all the time, even at work. But I don't know. I feel like right now there's not much functionality needed for the first version.
Right.
Because right now it just works,
Yeah.
But you don't want
go ahead.
You don't want to put too much into the first version because then it's a lot of work to make a second one.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So.
Yeah. So Switchy for did you talk about Switchy or did I just I can't remember if we talked about Switchy.
No, we kind of just segued into it.
Okay. All right,
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
All right. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next one is All Alarm. All Alarm is the toggle. You can toggle all your alarms on and off. That's my first open source tweak, I believe.
Oh yeah, I think I remember this too. I think I might have covered this one. Yeah, I like this tweak. I remember.
Yeah, it was good. Only problem is it won't toggle the alarms that are off screen, and that's because Apple technically says those table cells are not actually there.
Oh, okay.
So
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb, and I'm having a hard time doing it, but whatever. I left it open source, so if anyone wants to update it, by all means, update it.
That might explain why my voiceover has this bug where I can only view like up to 12 alarms, and then after those 12 alarms, it just boom, it's gone, and there's no more alarms on my screen, so I have to make a brand new one. So voiceover must have a table cell bug or something.
It does the same thing. Yeah. Most likely that's probably the reason.
Yeah, because this just came up in iOS 9.0 and 9.0.2 and that kind of stuff. So.
That was just the issue that just started, or that's been happening since?
No, that's been happening just since 9. So they must have done something with voiceover and how it looks at.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Maybe I could do something about it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool for sure.
Yeah. The next one's Return, which we've talked about already. And then the one after that is Regram, which is the last one I've made.
Oh, this was you? Wow, okay. Yeah, like half of these I didn't know were you. That's actually really cool. Okay.
Podcast.
Regram.
Yeah, that one was me, because that was an idea given to me by someone at dinner at JailbreakCon, actually.
Was it me?
No, it wasn't.
Because I was at dinner.
I was at dinner too. I was at dinner too.
Yeah, on FaceTime. Well, yeah.
FaceTime, yeah. And he was just drinking coffee.
Yeah, I was drinking coffee, and David FaceTimed me, so I started like showing him around to everyone through my phone.
Oh, right, yeah.
Anyways,
I was at that dinner.
But who gave you the idea for this tweak?
Who gave me the idea?
Yes.
Okay, so do you know Marciano Phone?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. He was the one who gave me the idea, along with his friend Manny. Or Manuel, I don't remember his name. But it was his Twitter name or YouTube name is like DJ Manny D or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Okay, all right. Yeah. I know both of those guys.
Yeah, they're good guys. Actually, Marciano Phone did all the videos, I think, for the speeches at JailbreakCon, I think, this year.
He did what?
I think Marciano Phone was the one who recorded, I know for the mini talks at least, he was the one who recorded the mini talks.
Well, the live streams were kind of like, I feel like if whatever they do to get the live streams up and running this year, hopefully they try to figure out what's going on with them, because it was like super laggy and it was like it dropped significantly.
This year they were recording it off an iPhone 6.
Yeah.
That was live streaming.
On top of a cup or something crazy.
At least
like
it's
that.
not an iPhone 3GS, okay?
I think they were using, actually, you know what they were using? I think it might have been Periscope.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, that's what they were.
I think it was through YouTube, though, because I remember...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was through YouTube.
It was.
I remember,
You're right.
Yeah.
It was through YouTube. I remember that, yes. I tried to get on it while I was there. And it was garbage.
Yeah, and I was like, come on, guys, like I'm there in spirit, but like, come on, like can't.
Someone should just bring like a GoPro to JailbreakCon or something like that next year.
Did I not bring one? Andy,
yeah, you did. Oh man, that's true. We are uncovering a lot of mysteries here. Like, we're just burning through these mysteries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the end of the list.
All right, cool. Yeah, so Regram, what did that actually do? I for some reason that must have slipped through.
I don't know if Instagram made this feature yet, but at the time it allowed you to repost a picture from someone else, and it credited them.
Right. I don't think that's a feature yet, but it's definitely something that I've always wondered if someone had thought about. Well, I've seen like Regram posts where people like. But it takes time. Like you have to screenshot the post, then
so essentially, what this did was it downloaded the photo to your Photos album, and then you can just and then it sent you straight to the upload screen.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I spent hours. I literally decompiled. Well, not the word is not decompiled, but I'll use the word. I decompiled Instagram. I literally looked at as much source code as I could to trace how posts are sent. Because I wanted to, when you hit the Regram button, have it do it in the background. Right?
Yeah.
But I just could not figure out how to do it. I spent hours sifting through gibberish of just binary, and I could not figure it out. So I just figured out, you know what, this is probably the best way to do it. And that's how, I figured simplest way to do it, Occam's razor, let's get it done. Right? So.
Right.
Gotcha. Cool. Nice. Yeah, I remember I saw Regram pop up, but I don't know why I didn't click on it. But
yeah, I used that one for a while. Is that compatible with iOS 9, or is it just depends
on it's not about
Instagram?
The iOS, it's about Instagram.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, the app, right.
Every time I released a new version, Instagram the following week released an update that patched it.
So this is like a battle back and forth between...
Yeah.
Was that a direct patch for...
It would say bug fixes or whatever.
Let
me tell you what happened, right? I released it, this method, right? This method was it took variables x and y, right? This method that I hook to do this. I call method xy, and it works. Patch 1 that came out, the one that broke my tweak, it was now the method calls xyz. And it would crash when I called the method, so I'd have to update my app, update the tweak, and put it up. Right, now it works, right? Then it released it again. They patched it again, and they went back and now the method was called XY again.
They're literally just playing like a cat and mouse game.
It's like back and forth, back and forth.
Yes.
That must have been really annoying.
So they were directly aware of you, probably.
It had to have been, right? So.
Oh, this guy's doing this. All right, time to push an update.
You're just gonna like alternate the same code back and forth forever.
Pretty much what happened. I was like, are you kidding me, guys?
Well, that's what you get when you have a company bought by Facebook.
Yeah.
What? I didn't say that. What?
Really?
Yeah,
I think they're owned by Facebook.
It was a few years ago they bought them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Facebook owns WhatsApp and Instagram, I think.
Instagram, yeah.
Oh,
Which
interesting.
I'm pretty sure that's the reason why Instagram, like you can post Facebook to Instagram and Instagram to Facebook, vice versa. I think.
No, you could do that before.
Yeah, you could, but I don't think it was as quick. I don't think that when you hit post, it automatically went to your Facebook.
Yeah, like I think there's an option to do that now. So.
Yeah.
I don't use. I use Instagram, but I don't really use Facebook that much, so I really wouldn't know the difference.
I take the best pictures in the world, so of course I use Instagram like every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, I created a spoof Instagram account just because I was bored one day. I created it and I called it 2020_vision. And then I made it say, I put in the bio, the only thing I put in the bio was I take great pictures. and
That's funny.
See, people actually started thinking it was me, and people actually started thinking I was like serious. So people started following me, and like I haven't posted anything on it like to this day.
Wow, I made an Instagram for my hamster. I used to have a hamster called his name was Digley, and he was like my fourth hamster or whatever. Anyway, we named it Digstagram, and it is still live, and you can see pictures of Digley and the new hamster. It's Digstagram 4.
I'm making an Instagram account just because of that. See, I'm not on Instagram, but now I'm going to make an Instagram account.
Yeah, it's like whenever we talk about something, like I was talking about like Phantom for Snapchat with Andy, and he was like, "Oh, I don't have a Snapchat. Okay, I'm getting one now." And now he never uses it. But I'm like, it's so funny how whenever we seem to talk about something, it's like, "All right, I'm getting it."
Yeah, I'm very impressionable, I guess.
I guess
go
that's
with the
good.
flow.
Yeah, I'm not getting the new iPhone. Get it, Andy. Okay, I'm getting it.
Yeah, that was your fault, David. Okay.
And then it broke like 2
then it
hours
broke.
after he got it.
No, well, the thing that made you want to get it is the rose gold color.
I guess, but then I was like, you know what? It has
Really?
3D touch. It has this. It has that. I was like, I need this. So.
I was like, get it, and you're like, all right.
Yes.
It made you want it?
It did. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you. The pink is what.
The
pink did the trick.
The pink got me.
It did. But you know, it was just kind of like it was the barrier. It was like the barrier to entry. Once I actually got the phone, it became, you know, about so much more than the pink. But the pink is what initially attracted my attention. I don't know why. It was just like something new. It was like the gold, you know, with the iPhone 5S. It was just like
Yeah, you know, this is why Apple changed the colors of their phones. People
exactly.
like you.
Yeah.
Impressionable people like me who just buy stuff.
I got an iPhone 6S because I was actually able to. Verizon was like, hey, want to upgrade early? I'm like, why not?
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I remember you just got an iPhone 6, I think,
Yeah,
right?
I just got an iPhone 6, and
okay.
I was actually able to add Force Touch Gestures to Boxxy.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That is going to be awesome. Absolutely. So, speaking of all your tweaks, William, what's the tweak that you feel the most proud of, or you know that you like the most, or you use the most, or that you feel the most proud of?
First in line would be Switchy, I think, the non-released tweak.
Right.
Of released tweaks, it would be Boxxy, obviously.
Gotcha.
I would say Boxxy 2, not the. Oh, you know what? Boxxy in general, same functionality. Only because it was the tweak that got me as known as I am, for the most part. That and Sticky, but Boxxy is the one that I like the most. Because I learned so much about the Springboard that I'm like the go-to guy when it comes to that kind of thing.
Nice.
So another thing I wanted to bring up, sorry for interrupting, just is that I think I remember when we talked about Switchy initially on the podcast I think it was like a few months back. I did look in Cydia. I'm just gonna look again, but I think I remember seeing something like that. There's an old tweak. Names it's got the same name and it's on Big Boss. So I'm wondering, when you do go and submit this to Big Boss and,
I submit exclusively to Mod My Eye.
Okay. When it shows up in Cydia for the public, are you going to change the name of it, or is it going to be the same deal?
Well, considering mine will most likely be paid, it'll come up with blue, so there might be enough differentiation.
Right.
Right.
Well, I like the name because it kind of goes along with my flagship tweaks, like Boxxy and Sticky.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of why I did that. Name was actually okay. So you know how we come up with that name? Remember? Do you know David Goldman?
Yeah.
Okay, from the guy who did Color Flow.
Right.
Yeah. He's great.
With this tweak, not coding wise, but just idea wise, and he was the one who helped me come up with the name actually. And that name was supposed to be a code name at first, and well, that kind of just became the name. So
nice. All right, cool.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that'll come up like on top instead of the other one. That's what, because this one it seems like hasn't been updated since like iOS 5. So this is an old one.
Yeah, I wonder if I could message Optimo and say, "Hey, can you do me a favor?"
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know if you can just. I don't know if you can just remove packages like that.
Right. So, speaking of which, do you have any upcoming projects in the works? Maybe upcoming tweaks or anything else? At all? Just upcoming things you're working on. Anything in the works right now?
So let's see. I'm trying to look at my. I don't have my folder up on me with me right now. It's on my Mac. It's somewhere else. But Switchy, obviously, we've been talking about that. But I'm working on a version of Mobile Terminal.
Ooh, yay!
Nice.
Okay.
Because I've had a hard time getting one to work.
Yeah, I
have one that works. So,
I have seen. I think someone made. I don't remember specifically who, but I think I've seen around Reddit there was like someone that figured out how to make it work, and there was like a video tutorial surfacing.
Yeah.
Around.
I am basing mine off of. In fact, it's an open source project. I think Hashbang might have been the team that did it.
Is Mobile Terminal like the one you're working on? Is that one gonna read out the text when you actually type it in? Because like that was one of my biggest pains from the old Mobile Terminal. Is like when I would type stuff in, like I would have to go back and like retype stuff because I wouldn't know if I typed it in right. And then when you press enter, it just wouldn't give you any feedback.
Well, now that you mention that, I'll make it do that.
Well, thank you, because that was my biggest pain with Mobile Terminal. Like I could not. So I'd have to, like, if I wanted to change my root password, like, I would have to type in all the different lines of, terminal code or whatever you want to call it. I'd have to type them in, like, 2 or 3 times just to change my root password, and I'm like, okay, why does it not read out on the screen?
Yeah,
like, I don't understand.
And a lot of the times, a lot of terminals will actually autocorrect. And
that annoys me, too.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I'm going to disable it, obviously. But, yeah, I will see about adding that feature in because, well, I can do it. I just have to figure out, because I don't use Xcode to write my tweaks.
Right.
I use just a random text editor. I use Sublime Text.
Yeah, I don't like using
I have to figure out the libraries and stuff.
Yeah, because I know, like, see, that's the thing, like, I know when I was, like, learning Python and stuff, and I've taken a look at, like, Objective-C and stuff before, too, like, I never used integrated dev environments just because it never, I don't know, there's just something, I just prefer using a text editor and then running the program.
So I'm the same way, but for my job, I am forced to use Xcode because I make actual apps for the App Store, right?
Yeah,
if you don't know, my current job is I am the lead iOS developer at Elite Daily.
Okay.
So I made their iOS app, and I still work with them, and I have to use Xcode for that. And it comes in handy when you're using like Interface Builder and all that other stuff. But I learned to code just from text editors.
Yeah, that's how most blind people actually code, is through text editors as well. Because sometimes like IDEs aren't accessible, and then like for example Idle will not work with VoiceOver. It's not accessible with VoiceOver.
Oh, wow.
So like stuff like that. So a lot of blind people will just go and use a text editor instead. But yeah, it's interesting that because I just assumed that was just a blind person.
Yeah, a lot of people use iOS OpenDev for Xcode.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think it's compatible with 7.1 yet, with the Xcode 7.1.
Yeah.
So people most likely are stuck with using text editors for now.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
So speaking of App Store apps, besides the one that you mentioned, is there any App Store apps that you're currently working on, or any App Store apps that you've had released in the past?
Yeah. There's actually one. There's two, but one of them is not released yet. So the one I'm working at, one that is released already, is called Shade, Real World Color Identifier. And the reason why I had to add Real World Color Identifier is because, well, the word shade was taken. And what this app does, it's 99 cents. And what it does is, also, just so you know, it's more impressive to have a paid app than it is to have a free app on the App Store.
Right.
Because the process is harder to get in.
Yeah.
From what I assume, right? I would think it would be. But yeah, so I have a paid app, and what the app does is you can take a picture of anything that has color on it, literally anything, crop it to how you like, and pick the certain section of the photo, and it will tell you in RGB, CMYK, and hex what color that is.
Wow, oh, wow. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, and it's really useful. Because it was useful for me at least because it came down to I needed something like this. I was sleeping, and I was looking up at my ceiling, and I go, I wonder what color that is. And that's when the idea hit me. And I was like, I wish there was an app for that. And little there wasn't.
I can see that this being obviously handy for people who are just curious like that, but also for, maybe photographers. Or,
it's targeted for web designers and painters and that kind of deal.
Gotcha.
I really want to. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think Benjamin Moore and them kind of do that kind of deal. I don't know. I haven't downloaded their apps, but I really want to hook it into their paints.
Yeah.
So that way it'll tell you this is like eggshell yellow. This is like eggshell white. I mean, this is I gotcha. Off-brand Tickle Me Pink, right? So like that would be nice to do, but right now it's just hex, CMYK, and RGB. And I was told CMYK because a lot of people who beta tested my app were in the print industry.
Right.
And they use CMYK exclusively.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Can it tell you like the color of the whole photo, or do you have to go and select the part of the photo?
So what it'll do is if you took a picture of the whole photo, if there's more than one color, it'll average it all out.
Okay.
But if it's the same color, like you took a picture of the wall, and it was just that whole color, it will do that. But it will take the average, accounting in for light and counting in for that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So it's an algorithm for the most part, but it works. It's pretty reliable. I liked it. I get a lot of use out of it. I think unfortunately, it's really hard to be popular on the App Store now, unless you're like a giant business or you're a social media app.
Yeah.
So there's not much ground that's been. Not a lot of people have downloaded the app. I'd say about 200. But I liked it. It's a good idea.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting idea.
I'll definitely check this out. I don't know. I kind of am slightly into photography, I guess. It's something that I kind of play with. I like finding good pictures.
Isn't that your major?
No, definitely not. I'm into communications, broadcasting, but I don't know. It's something I kind of do off on the side, So I think this could just be something that'd be fun to play with,
Yeah, and I really wish it would take off. I really wish that everyone would start using it. I still get sales, and it's nice, but I can only advertise so much as a single guy, right?
Right.
I wasn't trying to make a business out of it. It was more to build my resume, because I can't go into an interview and say, "Hey, check out this jailbreak stuff I did." Right? So you'd be surprised that because of jailbreaking, I got a job. So
I'm not surprised actually, because there's a lot of people in the community who have gotten jobs through jailbreaking.
Especially as you learn coding in such a different way.
Ironically enough, especially at Apple too, there's a lot of them that are at Apple.
Yeah,
eventually
security
Apple
team. Yeah.
There's a lot of I think and then didn't I think Philip was the only developer that actually got a job at Apple. I think the rest of them were security people.
Philip Tennant?
No,
No,
Filippo. Oh, geez.
Oh, we're talking about the Italian.
Yeah, Filippo
Yeah,
Bigarella. That's it.
Bigarella, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. I know he actually got a job at Apple. Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be great to work for Apple, but I don't think I'd like it, honestly.
Yeah, it's I from what I hear, it's a lot of like amazing perks, but it's like really it's a lot of work.
I feel like it's kind of like buying their product.
You think so?
You know, it's great when, you know, it's hyped, you know, a lot when you get it, but once you start using it, it's fun.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah.
That's what I meant.
It's just a job. Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? It's still just a job, and it's probably great. You know, it's probably great to work for Apple. But I don't think it's for me. Honestly, I work for Elite Daily. They were a startup about less than a year ago, but they're pretty big now, and the company is fantastic, man. I love working for them.
Nice.
Well, I mean that's such an important thing is to do what you enjoy doing, right? Like and work where you enjoy working.
Yeah,
right?
my major in college is toxicology. I don't even do programming.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of programming though, is that like usually, you know, if you're good enough, you don't need a major in it. Like it's one of the few things that you know, yes, a university degree may help, but if you're good enough, you don't always need a major in it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's exactly my point. And you know, it's I don't know. I love it.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're very glad that you do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Thanks
yeah.
for everything you do.
Yeah. Was there any other app? Because I know you said there was a few.
Right. There's one more. The application is not released yet. It is still in development. It's called Hover Steve, and it's a game.
Ooh.
It's actually a lot of fun. It's very addicting. It's similar to Flappy Bird.
Yeah, I was gonna say any plans to try to get it to be Flappy Bird.
So, and the reason why it's like Flappy Bird is because it is stupid simple, right? And the only difference between this game and Flappy Bird, well, there's a couple differences, is you don't die when you hit the ground because you're on a hoverboard, right? So you don't die when you hit the ground, but your goal is to jump over these things, over these electric gates, we'll call them. But the thing is, they don't appear always on the bottom, and they appear at different heights, and some of them appear on the top, some of them appear on the bottom.
Oh.
So you can't just stay on the top the whole time. And the top ones can jut out very little or all the way. So it's kind of, I found it to be, it's more, I would say it's addicting, very addicting rather, but there's still a couple, tweaks I'm working out to get it to fully function, but it works.
And what's the game called again? I just want to search it in the App Store right now.
It's not out.
No, it's
not out. Oh, I thought you said okay.
Yeah,
we're
getting an exclusive here.
Yeah, I already.
And it has been for a year. In fact, I've had some people in the Jailbreak community beta test it for me.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a whole list of beta testers on there actually.
Sounds like something that I would have, because whenever I use games on my phone, it's always those it's always those addictive games that are very simple.
I need a new game to play because I'm like trying to find something passing it. I for whatever reason, there have been a few times where I search the App Store, top charts, top free, top paid, whatever, just looking for a good enough game to pass the time. There really hasn't been, since Flappy Bird, there really hasn't been one of those games that's pick up and play. You can play it anywhere and it's addicting and it passes the time really easily.
Yeah, I have. That was my goal, right? So I wanted to make a game that I could enjoy myself, and I did all the art. All the art is, I would say, somewhere between 8 and 16-bit. I don't know how many bits exactly, but I used an app called Piskel, Piskel, and it's probably pronounced Pixel, but it's Piskel, and it's a Java-based application for the computer, and you kind of just draw, and it turns it into pixels, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
you can draw 32-bit. Every single one of these is like 256 by 256. But I hand draw all the animations, everything, and it doesn't look terrible. I think.
Yeah,
But-
I gotcha.
Do you want me to? Do you want to send me the images and I can judge that for you?
Yeah, you let me know.
I will.
But yeah, so I'm in the process of updating it for iOS 9, and hopefully I want to get it out before the end of the winter.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, William, again, thank you so much for coming on.
No problem.
It's been a blast for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, again, keep doing what you're doing. We really love all the tweaks that you do, all the apps. We're looking forward to that game and many more things, hopefully. So, I think this just about wraps it up. Do you guys have anything else to add? Anybody?
Yeah, just thanks for coming on, and hopefully we'll get to meet again at JailbreakCon next year. And
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Well, thanks to everyone who listened in, and of course, again, thanks to William. And we'll be back next week with episode 21. Again, thanks all you guys for listening, and we'll catch you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.